Hi, welcome to episode 7 of The Digital Source. My name is Anthony, and today I'm excited to talk to you about how loyalty, retention, and omnichannel are shaping the face of retail in 2025. Today we're joined by some fantastic guests, Megan and Shiv. Megan, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Sure. My name's Megan. I've been at Yotpo for about 6 years. I'm a senior account manager there, working with our current customers, both all the way from mom and pop startups all the way through enterprise to help them define, engage, and help them retain their customers.
Perfect. And Shiv?
My name is Shiv. I work at Shopify as our lead for the retail team in Europe. So that means working with small businesses all the way to large businesses. I've done that for most of my time at Shopify across 6 years. Excited for the conversation.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me today, and we'll get started. So to kick things off, let's ground the conversation in something practical. What does unified commerce actually mean, and why does it matter? Shiv?
Yeah, so unified commerce is, I guess, like an industry term, but the way I see it translated is, what does it mean for the customer? So it's one customer, one experience. Whether you're shopping online or you're actually in the store, it should be consistent, and the customer shouldn't be able to tell that you're using different systems on the back end. So I guess from that lens point, what the customers expect is consistency. So as a business owner or like an operator in a business, what this means for you is that you don't have to dig around for pieces of information. Generally, they're living in a few different spots, and that can make you efficient to drive that experience for the customer that I mentioned at the beginning.
So I guess a lot of people in old world e-commerce language would have termed that omnichannel, but what's the difference between unified and omnichannel?
I think it's really just a different spin on the same. The meaning is the same. I think unified, perhaps omnichannel was more of a term used to describe it from an industry standpoint, or for us working in the industry, whereas unified is a little bit more holistic, where it accounts for what the customer will also experience on their end. So, as an example, we found at Shopify that nearly 70% of customers will either start online and then somehow end up in store, and the reverse. And what they expect is, if I saw something online, if it says that that product is in this store and I'm about to make my trip to go there, that it's actually there.
Yeah.
So I think the term unified is a little bit more encapsulating.
So I guess looking at kind of historically speaking, stock levels synced across those systems would have been a bit of an issue. So in the omnichannel world, it's maybe a bit more siloed, whereas unified is truly unified.
Exactly.
What does it mean to you?
I think it probably means something similar. When I first hear omnichannel, I just think multiple different channels the customer can purchase through, on and offline. From a unified standpoint, that alludes a little bit more to the customer's journey is more connected. You said it very well in terms of the customer shouldn't know about any and all the tech operating in the back end. They shouldn't know that like you're using one POS system and maybe a different platform. It should all work together, which is also why Shopify and Yotpo tend to work so closely together to bridge those experiences. But generally, I think it's it means the customer is having a more streamlined, a more connected, a better experience no matter where they're shopping. And yeah, it's consistent.
So thinking about the commercial impact of unified commerce, when retailers really get it right, we're probably looking at bigger baskets, higher average order value, higher retention. But where do you see the most opportunity in unified? What is Shopify seeing?
My perspective is around the fact that you just have a different experience online versus in store. We know statistically, as you mentioned, the basket size. So we found it's around 18% higher in store at the AOV. And I think that comes down to the way we, like the modern consumer, when we shop online, your attention is often split between different tabs, things going on in the home, whatever's happening when you're sitting in front of a computer or you're on the phone shopping. Whereas in the store, you not only have kind of the general atmosphere of the store, the brand presence, but you also have the added value touch points of your store staff, store associates actually engaging with you. And this kind of comes back to the data piece that I briefly mentioned of it all being in one place. And imagine walking into a store and the store associate says, "Hey, welcome back," or "Have you shopped with us before?" And then they can just pull up your history of your engagement with the brand, what you bought, and then they can recommend products similar to your interests. And actually, a lot of the technology will do that for you. So therefore, it drives that commercial increase in average order value.
Yeah.
That to me is a really strong way of differentiating between the online and in-store experience.
Okay. So Megan, Yotpo recently announced that they're now native in the Shopify POS ecosystem. Why do you think Yotpo have done that? Like, what do you think they see as the opportunity by being so integrated?
Yeah, I think it was quite intentional. We've always been strong partners with Shopify, but as I guess we're thinking about unified commerce and the experience the customer is having, we have invested in what Shopify is doing to make sure that whole journey is really connected for the customer. So specifically thinking about loyalty, being able to communicate with the customer around like, you have so many, like X amount of points to use, or hey, as a VIP platinum, you get this free gift when you come to the store. Those sorts of things are much more easily translated to bring that journey across any and all channels.
So thinking about that, when you speak to, in your experience, when you're speaking to retailers, do you use that as an avenue to push Yotpo as a product? As in, if that retailer has a bricks and mortar store, you explain actually Yotpo will help drive footfall in store because we'll talk about how we can leverage the loyalty program to push in-store benefits and in-store rewards. Do retailers react to that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what their strategy is, right? If they want to bring offline online or online offline. But yeah, our loyalty programs oftentimes do target some behaviors that they want customers to take. I think Muckoff actually does a really good job with this. They actually are incentivizing via points, like come to our 93rd store and snap a selfie, which they can use across some of their own marketing efforts to drive community, to drive engagement, and change that customer's experience and closeness with the brand.
Yeah,
that's a good point, Megan. My favorite kind of engagement is actually what are you able to actually offer something different when someone comes into your store? Points are great. I like the idea of perks more as well, right? Like, hey, you come in here, I don't know, you can give them something off of their basket size, like £5 off or whatever, or you can incentivize them by having exclusive products to the store. There are so many different ways, but you're rewarding them making that effort in coming into your store.
I guess another angle that's less spoke about is cost and efficiency, fewer systems, lower cost, happier staff. Where are you seeing that translate down to, I guess, the shop floor?
Yeah, great question. If I start at the high level of, let's say you have a point of sale system, an online store, and they're not unified, you have a bunch of platforms in the middle to kind of replicate that unification. We call it the messy middle. Every single one of those platforms or integrations comes with a cost to the bottom line, essentially making you more inefficient. Now, how it shows up for your staff is a lot of manual work. Because they're not unified natively, this will almost always lead to errors. So we found that having a unified system saves up to 30% of 30% of time on manual tasks, whereas you can then redeploy that time on upskilling your staff and having them have more meaningful interactions with their customer.
I guess that upskilling point is quite relevant here as well, because the amount of time needed to train staff on multiple systems is dramatically reduced when you're training people on just one.
Yeah, exactly. And especially when the one system actually looks really nice and is very intuitive with Shopify's point of sale POS 10. Even after that update in our POS software, we found a 5% reduction in how efficient the staff members can be in terms of adding products to a cart. And then during the checkout, being able to upsell items because they've been able to pull in the customer profile through their email address and see the other types of products that they have. So imagine saying, hey, by the way, before we complete this, we do have a 5% discount right now available on that t-shirt that you've bought a few few t-shirts of, as an example, right? Like it would ideally be much more of a smoother interaction. That's how you can spend the time training the staff so they don't sound like me. But like that's the sort of stuff that
but I guess
you get to do.
This is where Megan comes in as well, because if they've got Yotpo integrated into the till system, customer comes to the till, straight away you can say, I see you normally buy these. Do you know we've actually got a promotional offer on this product range, and actually you're a VIP customer because I can see your points tier.
Exactly. Do I even need to answer the question? No, that's exactly it. It's sort of plugging it into that journey, and because the systems are all talking to each other, it's real time, right? So even rather than like the 5% discount, if I'm a loyalty member and on this, we'll use the site from a digital standpoint, then rather than show me the 5% discount, maybe it reminds me I have 200 points that are worth and maybe a free product to try a new line or some pounds off the order.
Sure. Yeah.
So yeah, it's an important journey, both in personalization as well as like just efficiency for both parties, customer and retailer.
To follow up, what advice would you give to a retailer who's struggling to manage their tech stack and multiple different systems? What would you say to a retailer in that position?
From my point of view, shameless plug, but Shopify is a great way to actually do that. But in all seriousness, I think everyone, especially now when retail is so competitive, given the just economic climate, it is a worthwhile exercise to map out your tech stack and then see how much of an overlap there is between the tools and systems that you use, and really identify the gaps that you have with this sort of setup.
I guess that's the biggest plus, I think, of Shopify just in general, the fact that it's built, every bit of functionality in tech is native. So you're not trying to shoehorn a till system built specifically for jewelers into a website system that has no method of integrating with that ecosystem, or you've got various different third-party specialist tools, WMS systems and marketplace systems that are effectively built in silo and independent, but you're trying to somehow connect, and there's just multiple points of failure.
It's really important that any retail merchant, mom and pop shop, you just make sure that the systems that you're using most map out where your gaps are, where you're getting the most frustrated and spending the most time, and is there an improvement you can make there to alleviate some of that and make them talk to each other.
So you mentioned Mokov earlier, and I think personalization is something that we all know works, but it can really be a multiplier across so many different metrics, LTV, average order value, etc. But few brands really get it right. So how does tying loyalty into that customer experience really drive value for the customer and ultimately revenue for the retailer?
Loyalty is more of that like engagement and retention strategy. So when we think about personalization and brands that can get it right, it's leveraging that data on who the customer is. If there's VIP tiers, which are a wonderful way to segment by customer behavior, to give a better experience, by being able to have this data and unify it with the purchasing data as well, which is all connected, it allows brands to understand who that customer is, how to appeal to them, how to market to them, or how to develop them into a stronger cohort that would work for them. And I think that does translate quite well into that sort of overlapping space between how personalization can drive the uplift in basket sizes. It could be something as simple as, I get caught in this all the time, I'm going to use bronze, silver, and gold, but you're a silver VIP member. Wonderful. Did you know I'm purchasing, 10 pounds more worth of product will get you into platinum, where you get a free gift. Done, I'm in. So it's like those journeys that, that one might have been a corny example. Those are the things that become super relevant to understanding the customer behavior, understanding how you can personalize it and then drive brand growth, but also make super happy customers that remember and engage with the brand. Earl Levis does a really good job with this. They have a store across the road from our office, which is very bad for my budget, but it's really wonderful because I have an account with them. I didn't even know they had a store. I think I got an email which notified us. So I was shopping. I have some loyalty points. I went to the store. When I went to the till, they knew who I was after I plugged in my email and had loyalty points and all that waiting for me. And I think I was able to exchange them for pounds off in the store, which was really cool.
Yeah.
So it just helps make that journey a bit more engaging, a bit better. And like sometimes it's a delightful surprise, if you will.
I guess it's nice, to walk into a store and they say, I noticed you added this to your basket that was out of stock a few weeks ago. Do you know we've actually got a promotion on that product range that you're interested in? And actually having that kind of truly personalized experience in store makes all the difference.
Earl of East, to double down on that example, they've done it really well. To your point you just made, that drove 28% increase in repeat purchases for products because the staff was able to go, oh, you might need a refill for this, or we actually have a promotion on something that, we can see that you have a history of purchasing because it seems to be one of your favorite products. There's something about like just someone knowing who you are and understanding your behavior and just kind of adding that personalization where, do I need another t-shirt? Probably not, but I will get it because that experience was just so great.
I guess the benefit of Shopify is if you've got customers like that who keep their head down, they don't interact with the staff on the shop floor. When you get them to the till, and obviously they go to either enter an email address or using ShopPay, you pay, and it kind of pushes up that message to say, we've got an email attached to this customer. Would you like to link it to this order? Then immediately you're presented with all this information. And then at that point, when the till person says, oh, well, do you know if you spend an extra £10, you'll go into the next tier, or you've got 200 points. Is there anything else you'd like in store? Suddenly I go from a disengaged customer to an uber engaged customer.
It's such a powerful way to interact with your customer, but also to again, I guess, be more efficient as a business because instead of that data just being there for reporting, you're actioning it and in real time almost.
Real time, yeah. So retention always comes up in these kind of conversations, and rightly so. But what I find interesting is seeing how brands and retailers are using Yotpo's customer loyalty and retention data and creating much more of an engagement piece as opposed to just focusing on loyalty points. But Megan, how are you seeing brands using that access to that loyalty and retention data to increase the lifetime value of customers?
Yeah, it's a really good question. There's a few ways you can do it, but let's go off of like the muck-off example. By using the reviews platform and being able to capture the impression of that first, second, third experience, rewarding customers for potentially filling out that review or submitting a photo or even a video, and then being able to post that to drive a larger community, while also allowing the customer to understand, like, in doing this, there could be an exchange of like a reward for you. Or it's just bringing that advocacy in one place. Like there's a few brands who do it really well, but in staying consistent with the example, like Muck-Off is in like the bike community. So they do like contests to help show us your best fakie. I don't even know what that is, but customers are doing these tricks on bikes and submitting them. And it's such a wonderful marketing and engagement tool. So on one hand, you're driving community with your customers by capturing that experience through the reviews and visual UGC platform. And on the other hand, that's the first thing you see when you join the loyalty program. You're exposed to this community. And I think immediately out of the gates, that helps customers feel like they're part of something. So it's not just about like points or rewards and stuff like that. It's being a part of a greater thing. And on the flip side, for brands, a customer that's more emotionally tied to you and understanding their experiences, you can honestly get more value out of your customers, right? And vice, it's kind of like a two-way street. No pun intended with the bikes, but the value and understanding and connecting, whether it's the first purchase experience to that reviews data, to the loyalty side and retention side of things, can be quite powerful. Whether, again, it's driving more repeat purchases from a transactional standpoint, driving community or engagement from maybe a more emotive standpoint, or being able to leverage it for acquisition efforts. If you know someone's a good loyalty customer, they've left a bunch or even 1 5-star review, so their sentiment's really strong with the brand, then that's a person who's probably likely to refer friends and family as well. So they're opening up their network and community to you. So it could be quite fruitful if you can leverage that data and bring it together in a unified manner, which, well, I guess that's why Yotpo exists.
So speed matters, especially when it comes to launching into new markets or new areas. But how does a unified setup actually help retailers to launch quicker?
So I'll give a great example of a merchant called Astrid and Mayu. They were able to launch 40% faster than kind of the average when they wanted to launch a couple of pop-ups in a retail store. And the main reason for that is because their information is in one place. They're using Shopify online and they were planning on using it in store. So where the data stems from is Shopify. And in that, they've also have inventory management systems. Everything is kind of integrated, so they can rely and take confidence in the fact that everything is accurate. So therefore, we can focus a lot more on just kind of getting the pop-up up and running, arranging the staff, training the staff, things like that. Whereas the opposite of that would be having to do stock takes. If anyone has ever done a stock take in their life, it is, depending on the scale of it, it's probably one of the most miserable things, especially depending on what you sell, right? Like if you sell, sofas, great, you can just count them. But if you sell t-shirts, jeans, pens, like you don't know where half these things are sometimes. And they're always, when you need them to be in the right place, they're never there. So you'd have to do something like that. And then you would have to, on some sort of back office system, create a location, allocate inventory, and like depending on the setup you have, you might actually temporarily need to separate inventory only to reconcile it again post pop-up as an example, because then you need to bring it all back in. Whereas with Shopify, that is way, way quicker because everything is already there in one place.
Yeah. Do you guys have any examples of any retailers that do it well?
I think represent Monster amazing of a like great UK brand. They're launching in the States. I think they're launching their second or third store.
Yeah.
Rixo's another one, like just really, really great, like speed to market, way to like unify the whole experience and for very nimble brands to be adaptable like that and to move so quickly. It's like, it's all the
Represent remind me of like a social first brand. They get all of their kind of like traction through influencers and activity online, and I think you have to be fast to market if you're a social first brand. It's kind of expected of you.
Yeah, I think it's necessary if that's how you started, and that's a little bit about like the expectation of your brand.
Yeah.
Be able to move that quickly in your systems and like in launching in new geographies is critical.
So we're in an era where profit is key, right? And so retailers, I think, are often walking the tightrope between like stock, what's available, what's not available. And I think inventory is probably the key element of where margin is made or lost. But what do you think the impact of having a single view of stock across all channels has on retailers?
I would say the answer to this is personal on so many levels. So my family growing up, my dad had his own business. We didn't have a retail store. A lot of it was kind of moving around, selling to different, kind of like a flea market setup. I don't know if you have those in the UK.
I know.
Yeah, okay.
I watch Friends.
And then, there you go. And then wholesale as well. And so growing up in our home, we'd just have boxes everywhere of stuff, just stuff. I guarantee you, if I go back home and go into my parents' basement, I'll see something that he was trying to sell like 10 years ago. And that's just like a really small example of the reality for a lot of retailers is inventory takes up a lot of your working capital. And having one system, having systems that communicate with one another kind of allows you to free up more capital. So you'd have less markdowns. A good example of this is a merchant called Jigsaw in the UK, where they were able to leverage having all of their locations and stock levels at each location be accurate enough where they were able to reallocate products between locations much faster, and they're still doing that today. So for example, if a particular item is selling more in their London location versus elsewhere in London, they're able to move things around. And then free up that capital to invest in what's next. So as you mentioned, inventory is a lot of this. Is actually when I'm speaking to retailers, and ultimately the question comes down to kind of maybe we don't have budget for Shopify, and I love tying it back to the fact that Hey, how much of your products are kind of sitting there because you weren't able to sell them as quickly as you wanted to?
I like it when that goes kind of like one step further and gives it the customer view. So I go into store and the store clerk has a full picture on stock availability across all their locations. The item I want isn't available in store. One of the key features that I really like about Shopify POS is the fact that you can buy in store and it'll be dispatched to your home. And it's really easy to do that. So you've got Jigsaw where they can say, well, actually, we don't have that in stock, but Liverpool store does have it in stock. So we'll have it shipped to your home. As a customer, I leave happy despite the fact that that item wasn't available in that store, but it's because they had a really good picture on where the stock was.
Yeah. And then, the dream scenario for a retailer is I've sold out of everything.
Yeah.
That's just, ideal state, but it's not really going to happen all the time. But you can adapt to how that product is performing. On another note, Anthony, if you'd like some fidget spinners, I'm sure my dad has some. So remind me to bring them for you next time.
I was just, as soon as you said there's probably products that have been sitting in there 10 years, I'm like, what's in the box?
Yeah, they're dated.
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
You should put it out on the
Need
desk.
like a little meme to go up
it
there.
It would be like a blast from the past. Yeah, but yeah.
Probably worth a lot more money now, actually.
Depending on what it is, yeah. But most of it, I can tell you it's not.
That's amazing. Well, on the topic of being able to understand your inventory, promote the right products, drive the right profits for your business, that is something that, again, brands can leverage different engagements or retention programs with. We have brands that if they maybe want to move inventory, they can set it as almost like a perk of being a VIP. Did you hey, we have the last of this, we're offering it to you first before anyone else. And just that psychological change of connecting how much they have in stock, what they might need to move, what might expire soon, to something that can be a benefit to your customers is also a very clever way at being able to drive more from that.
I think Next do that incredibly well in terms of their sale. And it's tying it into that VIP tier of customers where you say you get early access to our sale before the masses. It's just a way of churning through some of that stock. But I guess the flip side is being able to identify your high margin products. And say you're moving into peak where you're getting a lot of churn through of products, the risk is you're going to end up some unhappy customers because you're out of stock on quite a lot of the popular items. So I guess it allows you to then promote products which are high margin and you've got a lot of stock of them, promote them, more prominently to your customer base.
Yeah, and there's different ways where you can engage customers where it's not about getting the sale or the discount, because some brands are really they stay away from that. Maybe it's extra points or something like that to move maybe the higher margin things to get that profit in for the business.
I think that's a key point. Going back to the era of profit, loyalty isn't discounting. True loyalty is engaged customers. It's kind of moving away from that kind of that discount-led loyalty, almost like forced or fake loyalty. So let's talk about the people on the shop floor. I feel like we've talked a lot about how the right systems can improve the customer experience, but actually the right systems can help sell better, sell smarter, and ultimately sell more. And shop floor staff are becoming brand storytellers and CRM assets. So I guess, where have you seen unified commerce change the way that either in-store staff are trained or how they operate and maybe how they interact?
In terms of operations, I don't know about you, but admin is probably the least favorite part of my job. I'm sure for just most people, unless you work in admin, then it's the most thrilling thing, and power to you. But as someone who's worked in retail, again, that is not the most fun part of the job. Yeah. Really, you want to be on the floor, interacting with the customers, trying to help them out, trying to kind of see what your shop and your brand has to offer. So you have less time in admin, of course, but the customer data piece, we mentioned this before, but you have 1,000 things that you can sell in the shop, maybe 100, whatever the number is. But the right thing to do would be to recommend products that are relevant to that customer, right? It means for a staff member, that's a more meaningful interaction with the customer. They're generally happier as well. Happier staff sell more. Yeah. That's just how things go. So the more time you can give your staff focusing on that part of the job as opposed to kind of administrative tasks, that's how it translates into just more efficiency, operational efficiency, revenue, all the key metrics that you're going to be looking at.
Well, I think it's the way that the brand can, we talk about them being brand storytellers.
Yeah.
Less time doing admin tasks, more time on the shop floor, more time engaging with customers and getting that brand messaging across.
Mm-hmm.
You need shop floor staff who are super engaged in the brand. Often you find shop floor staff, like they live and breathe the company they work for. That's where you can get that across to customers, get that brand messaging across to customers in a way that adverts and editorial content just can't.
Yeah. And the way your online store just can't. I mean, the online experience is so much better, but it would be slightly strange if someone started talking out of the computer screen.
Oh my God.
It's probably coming, right? It's coming.
But that's the advantage of that basic human interaction that you can focus on and make that the emphasis in your store experiences.
Yeah, the first word that came to mind was like confidence too. Like if we're reducing admin, if we're reducing like the measure or margin for error, and the more time the customer has with the storyteller associate on the floor, like it's all connected. Like it's a better experience. The person's not bothered by admin. They're confident in the data that they have. They know maybe who the customer is, where they are in their journey with the brand, and they could talk to them like a normal person as an advocate of the brand and someone there to help them rather than like be fumbling around with the POS.
Yeah, like you've got all the data you need to access who that customer is, what they're interested in. You don't need to think about that. You can just think about the engagement from a brand piece and how do we get this customer, how do we get this message delivered to the customer. So finally, retail is probably as competitive as it's ever been. And I think brands that can move fast and deliver consistently, they're the ones that are pulling ahead. So what do you guys think gives a retailer the biggest competitive advantage right now? What gives them the opportunity to pull ahead?
From my point of view, speed at adapting and having the supporting tech stack to kind of help you keep up with what's going on in the market. A great example is we're in conversations with a retailer right now where they have a great social presence. In fact, they've been around for quite a while and they've tried to kind of digitize, or that term seems outdated, but they've tried to kind of match how commerce is right currently a few times and try to keep up with it. But they've gotten some traction on social media, but outside of that, website, in-store systems are completely outdated. And, you're almost doing yourself a disservice by not being able to take advantage of where you are having some traction. Because the playing field is now, like a lot of customers, a lot of consumers will their reference point for what a good interaction with the retailer looks like is everything in one system. Everything is seamless. Like they don't know what systems are unless you've worked in retail. Like they just know that I can buy something online and return it in store. I can use the gift card someone gave me over Christmas and just walk into any store and use it. And I don't just have to use it online. Like that's just table stakes now.
Yeah.
And things are just going to change from here on out.
Yeah.
So having that supporting tech stack, as I said, to help you keep up with the speed of change is the biggest competitive advantage you can have.
So I was probably an Amazon customer for a number of years. Ease, pace, it only gets quicker. Amazon warehouses popping up, every 20 miles on the main artillery routes, A19, A1, up and down the country. But what's turned me into, I guess, a customer of more bricks and mortar stores and more maybe omni-channel or omnipresent retailers is the ability to maybe kind of go in store. Do you know when you need something where online just doesn't quite give you either the full description or you're not quite sure? So I was buying a lawnmower. Now, the most obvious thing would be to buy that lawnmower online because it's not going to fit in my car.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go and take a petrol lawnmower home. But by being able to kind of like go in store and view the item that I wanted to buy, what I really enjoyed is this store was clearly a Shopify customer and Shopify POS user, because they made it really easy for me to just go, right, I'm going to buy these ancillary items. It was like a couple of gloves and whatever else I needed for the garden, but to have the lawnmower just shipped to home. And so instead of having to buy online because couldn't fit it in the car, and then maybe it arriving and me thinking, I'm not sure whether that's the right one. I have to send back this big bulky item, which, taking that to the local post office is a bit of a mission these days. I found it a really easy customer experience, and actually that customer, that retailer will retain me as a customer because of the ease of being able to go in store, buy in store to be delivered at home. That experience gave me a leg up from what I would expect to see from the likes of Amazon, etc. So even though Amazon make it super easy to buy from, super easy to be delivered, still require that kind of like that in-store experience. But with an online pace. So speed is definitely key. What about you? What do you think?
I mean, I'd be silly to disagree, but I think it comes back, like you've mentioned it just now, and we started talking about it as well. It's that customer experience that's going to stick with them. So if you have the right systems in place that give you data transparency and actionable data that allows you to have more time understanding and creating a better, or again, more connected customer experience, not to beat a dead horse, but like it's those things that change you from Amazon to now this brand that you're referencing. And I think it's so important to be able to understand your customer, to be able to know how they're purchasing, where they're purchasing, and then making sure that sort of transitions from online to offline and offline to online and vice versa. And that was actually a perfect example of it.
Yeah. Okay, that feels like a really good place to wrap things up. So thank you for joining us today. Really enjoyed our chat.
Same. Thank you so much for having us.
Likewise. Thank you. This was fun.